Some backstory. Back in 2018, after I graduated high school, our parents got divorced, and it was a blindside from our mom, now 50 years old, and my dad was devastated. This heavily affected me and my brother, but him more so as he was still a minor and a custody battle ensued. Fortunately, our dad won the custody battle as our mom is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and she also wanted to move across the country. For better or worse, my brother was happy to stay with our dad and just had his mandatory visits to our mom, who I wasn't speaking to. However, he is very addicted to video games and puts them over pretty much everything else in his life. So things like standard chores and such weren't getting done or done on time, and his and our dad's relationship has kind of gone downhill. This led to things like our dad shutting off the internet or cutting the Ethernet cable, as my brother is up until 3 to 4 a.m. playing almost every night. And he doesn't just play quietly, he also yells and is screaming into the microphone all night. Now, our dad has been in a relationship for about 3 years now with someone, 49 years old, and they got engaged last year, and the wedding is less than a month away. Our dad and my brother, who is still living at home, not really looking to get a job or have any other responsibilities, moved out of their house to rent it and move in with our dad's fiancée. I like her a lot, but personally, I can't see her as a stepmother, more just my dad's fiancée, wife-to-be. That brings us to the present, where tensions have been building as my dad hasn't really given up on stopping my brother from playing and has only asked him to do a few simple chores, like doing the dishes and taking out the trash, not all that often. Now, granted, when it comes to other tasks, like they have been doing other larger projects, and when my brother actually does work, he does it well and gets it done. It's just getting him to do it. Our dad pays for pretty much everything my brother needs, and when my brother gets money, he spends it on video games or accessories for them, like controllers, monitors, or PC parts, instead of their actual purpose, like gas or parking fees. The day everything went south, as I mentioned, tension has been building, and our dad asked my brother to do the dishes and take out the recycling before 4 p.m., because they had yard work to do in the evening when it is cooler outside. Well, our dad got home at 3:30 and noticed that the chores weren't done and decided to meditate. He has been going to therapy and also does a lot of yoga while he waited for my brother to come down. He came down at 3:55 to start working on the dishes, and of course, our dad asked why he waited to do it until then. My brother said he didn't know, and they kind of went back and forth about it in that same manner until my brother, who was probably under elevated emotions due to playing some competitive games right before, decided to grab a glass and took a swing at our dad before stopping halfway in the kitchen. Our dad sensed my brother felt the fear of God after he did that, and our dad said that if he took a swing at him again, he wouldn't hesitate to defend himself. My brother took that as a threat and felt scared, so he asked to come to my and my wife's place for a few days, which we said of course. We thought from what my brother said initially that he had grabbed the glass and raised it, and then our dad told him he would kick his butt, which we found out later to be pretty untrue. My brother has had some anger issues and manipulative behaviors before, but he never raised his hand, let alone a glass, against someone else. That wasn't how we were raised. He has broken controllers and kicked holes in walls before when gaming. At this point, I don't know what to do. I don't want him staying at our place for too long, but I also want him to be better. My dad has already said it isn't my responsibility to help my brother, but if I don't, my brother will just pretend like it didn't happen and go back to the way it was, or pretend to accept the demands of our dad for about a week, then go back to what he was doing. My dad and his fiancée said something has to change. We can't just brush this off. I have asked my brother to seek counseling, to which he comes up with excuses not to and seems to brush off any other suggestions. Please, any advice is appreciated. To sum up, my brother swung at our dad, who then said he would defend himself next time he tried that. My brother left and is staying at my place temporarily. I don't want him to stay too long, but something has to change before he can go back. Need advice. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your brother needs a reality check. He's got anger issues and definitely needs therapy, but he also needs to learn to provide for himself and contribute to the household on a basic level, especially if he's getting everything paid for him by your dad. Sounds like he's spoiled and no one ever set him straight. It's going to be a hard lesson now. Your dad has more patience than I do. The kid would have been kicked out after taking a swing and forced to get a job and get his own place. Comment 2. The most you can do to help him is to persuade him to be a better person. He's an unemployed adult who is completely dependent on his father, spending every day just playing games and doing basic chores. Getting violent at the person who takes care of you for such a simple request is horrible. Even with anger management issues, you would be able to understand that you are in the wrong. If he still doesn't want to improve himself, you can't really force him to. Now, for the update. 3 days after the glass incident, my brother is still crashing at my place with my wife. I'm over it, but he's my brother, so I'm trying to be a good sibling here. Anything to not have him at my parents' house, especially after what went down. My parents are a mess, but they're trying to act like everything is normal. My dad calls me up, asking to meet for coffee and talk about our brother and all that. He could have just come over, but I guess he wanted to avoid any drama in front of my wife. So we agree on a time, and I meet him at this little diner on Wednesday morning. It's practically empty, which is great because I really didn't want a crowd today. My dad looks tired, and I can't tell if it's because of work or all this family drama. He starts laying into me about how my brother's behavior is becoming a family issue. Like, yeah, I know, I'm living it. He thinks I haven't noticed. He goes on about how my brother's anger issues have been around a long time, and nothing's really changed. So now he's thinking we need a family meeting, like a serious sit-down, to hash all this out. He's thinking Sunday, and I'm like, fine, whatever. I know it's not going to be pretty, but we can't keep pretending like we're some perfect family. My brother's living in my guest room, and he seems totally oblivious to all the drama. He's just playing video games all day like nothing's wrong. I'm not even kidding. Saturday rolls around, and the family meeting is finally happening at my house. My wife and I are just waiting for my brother to show up. The atmosphere is thick, man. Everyone's on edge. My sister and her husband are there, my dad's there, and my mom's in the kitchen pretending to be busy. My brother shows up late, of course, laughing and joking like he's in some kind of sitcom. My dad doesn't even let him get comfortable. He jumps right in, confronting my brother about the glass incident. My brother's like, oh, it was just a moment of frustration. No big deal. And I'm sitting there thinking, no big deal? Seriously? My sister tries to play peacemaker, but her and my brother just end up in a screaming match. My dad finally loses it. He's screaming at my brother to take responsibility. And you know what? So am I. This isn't just my dad's problem or my mom's problem. It's all of us, and we need to figure out how to fix it. My brother's not having it, though. He storms out, slamming the door on his way out. Typical. Later that night, I get a text from him asking to talk. He wants to meet at the same diner my dad and I met at. We meet up, and it's like he's a different person. He's all quiet, sulking. A waitress overhears us talking, and she jumps in, surprisingly siding with me. Thanks, random waitress. My brother goes off, accusing me of ganging up on him. He says if I can't support him unconditionally, he's out. This is the part where I say, go ahead and leave. No one's stopping you. He storms out, leaving me there to pick up the pieces. A few days go by, and I haven't heard a peep from him. My wife and I talked about it, and we decided to contact a family therapist. We needed someone to help us navigate this mess. I know my parents are on board, but I have no idea if my brother is. I just hope we can get something scheduled soon because we really need it. We arrange a family session with the therapist, and I'm honestly feeling a bit of urgency. This can't go on for much longer. I inform my family about the meeting, and they're all pretty much on board. My brother surprises everyone by showing up a few days before the therapy meeting. He looks panicked and just unloads on us. He doesn't want to lose the family, but he struggles with his anger. I think we all know that by now. During the family session with the therapist, I lay out some clear boundaries and consequences. This isn't just a talking circle. We need to take action. I see my brother listening, and it feels like he's finally getting it. The meeting ends with my brother agreeing to start attending therapy sessions. I just hope this is the beginning of something better for him and for all of us. To answer a few questions, the family therapy sessions are now a weekly commitment for everyone. My brother is gradually opening up, and there's a noticeable positive change in his behavior and outlook. Am I the idiot for threatening to break up with my boyfriend after he lied about going out with a female coworker? My partner, who is 31 years old, and I, a 33-year-old, have been together for almost 2 years now. Everything is actually going well, but he says he has problems with people pleasing. This always leads to him lying to me, and I don't know if I can do it anymore. 6 months ago, for his birthday, I actually wanted to go further away with him to eat at the restaurant where we had our first date. It's a ramen restaurant. But as he had to work late, he wanted to postpone it. 2 days later, he was in the same city for work. We had a crisis a few weeks before, and he said he wanted to open the relationship. 1 day later, he took it back, but that made me feel quite insecure, and I was more jealous than usual at the time. So I told him before his birthday that I was afraid he would go out to eat ramen with someone else, even though I understood that it would be a good opportunity. He promised he wouldn't do it, and that he wasn't planning to go out to eat with his coworkers, but just wanted to grab a quick bite to eat. On the day of the outing, I found out that a coworker of mine had died. We had a lot to do with each other, and he was a similar age, and his child was a similar age to my son. It really affected me, and I wrote to my partner. He said he couldn't call me now. A few hours later, he wrote to me that he was going to eat ramen with his coworker, let's call her S. He didn't ask if he should call. To be honest, I lost it at that moment. I said if he did that now, I would break up with him. He didn't go to eat ramen with her, he says, but they were out together for a while, and she also heard an upset voice message from me. He still wasn't there for me. That day really burned a hole in my trust. After that, he said he completely cut back on contact, and we rebuilt our trust. He's changing jobs soon, and I spoke to him again about S because the subject still makes me feel insecure. He said that they wouldn't have any more contact after the job change and that they are not good friends. We play Dungeons and Dragons together, and a few days ago, he asked her if she wanted to join in. He didn't discuss the whole thing with me. What's more, it's now emerged that they have more contact at work than he claimed, and are confident of each other when it comes to work. He said he was afraid of my reaction, and therefore didn't tell me anything, and was convinced that they wouldn't have any more contact before the idea of bringing her to our Dungeons and Dragons Discord server. He only told me the whole thing when they had already discussed it at work. He asked another coworker. I honestly can't put all the lies together anymore, but in the end, it came down to the fact that he actually wants a friendship and wants her to play with us. I told him that I felt extremely insecure about playing with her because of the voicemail, and that I also didn't want them to play without me because he had lied about her so often. But I agreed on the condition that I get to know her and that he takes the friendship slowly, and they don't hang out just the two of them for now. I also asked that he talks to her about me being there when they play and whether she thinks I'm crazy. The conversation was 3 days ago. Today, I find out that they've had a lot of intense conversations about their lives over the last 2 days, which were his last at work, and she even cried with emotion. Should I break up? Now for a few comments before the update. Well, actually, this post didn't have any comments. Now, for the update. Just over a week ago, I had a meltdown over my boyfriend's friendship with another woman. I was ready to break up for good, but things have changed. I don't know if it's for better or worse. Over a week has passed since that incident, and I decided to talk to my boyfriend about his ongoing communication with S. I told him that I didn't want to be the unreasonable girlfriend, but his friendship with S was making me uncomfortable. He insisted that their relationship was strictly platonic, and he emphasized how important friendship was to him. I wasn't buying it, but I kept my mouth shut. The guy has been telling me that S is just a friend and that he doesn't cheat. I didn't want to be that girl, you know? So I suggested we have a couple's dinner to clear the air, and he agreed. We chose a local sushi restaurant that had been a favorite spot for us. During dinner, he got a text from S, which he quickly dismissed. I noticed that his mood shifted after reading the message, and I couldn't help but ask about it. He hesitated before answering and claimed it was just a game-related question. I really wish I could believe him, but it felt so suspicious. Later that week, I joined a small group of friends for an escape room event. My boyfriend was invited, but he declined, saying he had to work. While I was at the escape room, I overheard a conversation about an upcoming gaming convention. One of my friends mentioned that S would be attending the convention, and that piqued my interest. I casually brought up S to my boyfriend during our weekly video call, but he seemed indifferent and didn't engage much in the topic. After the call, I did some digging and found S's social media profiles. I saw pictures of S and my boyfriend together at events, and it raised even more concerns. He planned a game night with S and other friends without discussing it with me first. I was furious. Then there was a family gathering for my boyfriend's birthday coming up, and I was invited. I decided to go, hoping to see how he interacted with S. At the birthday gathering, his family was warm and welcoming toward me. They even asked when we would be getting married. My boyfriend introduced me to S, who acted all friendly but seemed overly familiar. I noticed that my boyfriend and S exchanged inside jokes, and it stung so much to watch. Tension arose when S playfully teased my boyfriend about their gaming skills. After the party, I confronted my boyfriend again about S's behavior, but he downplayed the situation, claiming it was all in good fun. A few days later, he announced he got a job offer in another city. He was so excited about it, but I wasn't. During a conversation, he mentioned that he might move with or without me. I felt my heart sink. Then he revealed that he invited S to help him with the move, which infuriated me. I expressed my frustration over the lack of boundaries with S, but he argued that she was just a friend and didn't understand what the issue was. He even proposed a trial period for our relationship after the move. Now I'm sitting here, packing up my things, unsure of what comes next. Edit. My boyfriend and I have been in a long-distance relationship for 2 months now. He hasn't been in touch as often as I would like, but he claims work keeps him busy. Surprisingly, S has been reaching out to me more frequently, and she's been genuinely nice. It's been confusing. Am I the idiot for cutting off my sister after years of emotional abuse and family pressure to reconcile? As I approach 40, something happened to me, and I became overly obsessed with all the people who victimized me as a child. My elder sister, who is 44 years old, is one of them, and when I think about the good memories she stole from my childhood, I feel really angry with her. I am in a therapy process, and it's not helping me other than adding to my rage. When I look at my childhood photos, there is me crying next to my sister smiling. She used to pinch me or pull my hair just to make me cry. We used to live in the same room, but actually it was hers, and she wouldn't even let me study at the desk. She would study there, and I would sit on the floor. I would wear her old clothes as a child, and she would always tell me that everything belonged to her, not me. Her attitude grew bigger as she grew older. I couldn't attend my high school graduation party because she didn't allow me to wear one of the dresses my parents bought her. I grew up being ridiculed, humiliated, taken for granted, and ignored. She would get all the attention, and the minute I received any attention, she would ruin it. As I turned 18 and she was 23, our relationship got better, and she actually apologized to me for being a mean sister and cried about the moments she hurt me. I forgave her. We enjoyed spending time together, but that was always short-lived. She kept doing things that would ruin our bond, like one time when I was at her place, around 21 years old, and she was 26. We had an argument, which ended with her kicking me out of her house, 6 hours away from my place. Then when we got over this, I found out that she would tell all my secrets that I shared with her to my mom, adding some fictional details like how I got addicted to Zaza. Although I only told her one time that I tried it with friends, when I confronted her, she only got angry with my mom for talking to me. Then I stopped my communication with her until her divorce. She was having a difficult time, and I supported her. but she is a very difficult person to get along with, and every time she does or says something, it triggers my childhood traumas with her. There are a lot of things she did that I can't share here. Now, as an adult, I have significant self-confidence issues. For example, I sing and create songs, but I can't perform in front of people as I feel like someone will judge or make fun of me. I have anger issues, and I can't have healthy relationships with people. One day, when we had a deep conversation about this subject, discussing how she treated me badly and how it affects me today, she called me vindictive and obsessed with the past. So in short, I don't want to see or be in touch with my sister, but I don't know how. It's also considered very bad to cut off your family in my community. I would love to hear your opinions on the subject. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You don't need to stay in contact with her. Cutting out family is perfectly fine when they make your life harder. I have gone no contact with 2 sisters. One was an entitled woman who did so many things during my teenage years, encouraged by my mother, that made my life hell. The other had issues with alcohol and constantly lying. I was much happier not dealing with them, especially the former. Do what you need to do to heal and try therapy for yourself. You deserve better. Comment 2. What were your parents doing in all of this? I would very much notice if one of my children was acting this way towards the younger ones and would put an end to it. I don't think you owe your sister anything, especially since you raised the topic and gave her an opportunity to apologize, and she chose to insult you. Now, for the update. A few days after my last post, I decided it was finally time to confront my sister. What better place to do that than at my parents' house for a family dinner? It was supposed to be a celebration for my parents' wedding anniversary, but honestly, I just wanted a public place where I could get my sister to listen to me without her running away or shutting down on me. When I got to my parents' house, the atmosphere was super tense. I walked in and saw my sister already there, laughing and joking with our parents like we didn't have a history. I couldn't help but feel a bit of that old rage bubbling up in me, but I had to keep it together. It was an important night after all. During dinner, my sister made some joke about how I've always been the quiet one. Like, wow, real original. It felt like a punch to the gut. I wanted to scream that it was her fault I was quiet, but I chose silence instead. I didn't want to ruin the night just yet. After dinner, I had to step outside for some fresh air. I was trying to calm myself down when I saw my sister through the window, telling my mom about some promotion at work. I ended up eavesdropping like a total creep, but I just couldn't help myself. She was exaggerating everything, making it sound like she single-handedly saved a major project. I just couldn't believe it. So, I went back inside and tried to change the subject. I asked about my brother's new baby, thinking it would be a nice family moment. But my sister interrupted me, rolling her eyes and saying the baby wasn't the only important thing happening. I felt so ignored at that moment. Finally, I decided I couldn't stay quiet any longer. I had to speak up about the childhood memories that still haunt me. So I started talking about the times she bullied me, recalling specific moments like being pushed out of our shared room or not being able to wear the special dress at my graduation. She just dismissed me completely, saying it was time to move on and that everyone has their issues. Our parents just sat there in silence, clearly uncomfortable. I could feel the tension escalating. I snapped back, saying I was done trying to earn her respect. I wanted to be happy, and it sure as hell wasn't going to be with her in my life. She just laughed it off and said I was being dramatic. The next day, I got a text from her saying we needed to talk. I didn't respond. I just needed some space. A week later, I ran into her at a local grocery store. What a coincidence, right? She approached me with this forced smile and asked if we could talk. I told her no, that I needed some time apart to sort things out. She then raised her voice and started accusing me of being selfish and abandoning the family. At that moment, I felt so exposed. Everyone else in the store was staring at us, and I just wanted to disappear. Days passed, and I started getting calls from my parents, urging me to reconcile with my sister. They expressed their disappointment, saying family should always come first. It was really starting to get to me. A few days later, my parents planned a family gathering for a holiday event. When I told them I was going to skip it, the tension just got worse. They couldn't understand why I didn't want to be around my sister, even for a little while. My sister then sent a group message to the family saying I was being unreasonable. I started getting messages from my cousins expressing their disappointment and confusion. It was like everyone was ganging up on me. My sister reached out one last time, suggesting we meet at a cafe to discuss things. I declined, saying I was at peace with my decision to cut ties. I wasn't going to let her pull me back in. She sent me a final message, saying she hopes I find happiness alone. I know she was trying to be mean, but it actually gave me some peace. After everything we've been through, I really am at peace with my decision. Edit. I have not spoken to my parents or sister since that last encounter. They haven't reached out either, surprisingly. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.